Hello and welcome to my Dragon Age Inquisition trophy run, where I attempt to get every single trophy in this game in one playthrough. Currently, I'm in the Fallow Mire and about to attack the final boss of this area. So what I am going to try and do is reach the final boss without using any potions. Or at least as few potions as possible. In here there is no way to avoid disturbing the undead. I think it's actually better to stay and fight, because otherwise one of the companions just stays behind and gets obliterated. This way you defeat everyone with minimal loss. Otherwise, if you just run and attack these archers, you get separated and defeated very easily. This way you progress nice and steadily forward. I am going to make a little save here, because this is a dash that you do forward, and there is an element of randomness to it.
More undead! They're endless! Run for the castle! We should look around.
I'm actually trying to reach the lever that closes the doors down below. And there it is. Yeah, it's on the other side. It's probably a bottle or a mosaic piece. Actually, I don't think the bug has mosaics. It's up here. And I thought it was over the wall in one of these abandoned buildings.
them on Jarste! Wait! I am the hand of Korth himself!
So the trick to this fight is to actually run in and remove all of the support. The rest is easy.
Excellent.
And the soldiers are in that room. I'm just going to look around for something useful.
Herald of Andraste.
I've dealt with the Avar. Is everyone all right?
Yes, your worship. The injured need some rest, but we can return on our own.
I can't believe the Herald came for us.
I told you she'd come.
Alright, nothing more to do here.
Your god looks after you, Herald. There lies the brat. His father, chief of our holding, would duel me for the loss if he cared enough.
The Inquisition has a purpose your chief lacks.
Is this why the Lady of the Skies led me here? To help heal the wounds in her skin? Aye, I'll join you. Let me make peace with my kin and I'll find where you set your flag.
Okay, so on my way back I'm going to collect these materials. And I'm wondering which area I should visit next. On the one hand, I want to continue with the story. And I always start with the Warden Fortress. With the Warden Fortress in the desert. But on the other, I feel like my character isn't ready for that, so combat and everything is going to be quite difficult, so I might visit one of the other areas, pick up some experience. Actually, I'm going to try and defeat these. I wonder if they're an endless horde or just a random number. can defeat this horde, but another one spawned. Yeah, there is no other way than running. The way I remember it, one of these buildings had some pretty cool items in a chest, but I don't remember which one.
I am very pleased you joined us, Warden Blackwell.
The honor is mine, Lady Seeker.
We need strong, righteous warriors. Now more than ever.
Righteous? I praise Cassandra. Many wardens have hardly lived righteous lives.
True. Yet you give yourself to an order that would die to protect others. It is never too late to do better, and become more than what you are.
That is the hope.
Okay, I'll probably not find it.
Goodbye!
I wish we could have ended this entire area in one go, but that Revenant is just too powerful. So I guess it's time to leave for Skyhold now.
Stefan finally died. It was a blessing, really. He's been in so much pain since Haven. He was out of his mind at the end. He smiled, said he smelled his mother's turnip stew, and slipped away.
This was actually from the conversation that you have with Cole, and I want Cassandra to give me her personal quest.
Surely you have better things to do.
Do you have any advice for me?
Watch the treasury carefully, with that Sarah present.
You think she's here to rob us?
Possibly not, but I would hardly put it past her.
I have some more questions.
Why am I not surprised?
You don't seem to like your homeland much.
My family polluted it for me. What little I saw of my homeland was through the bars of a gilded cage. My uncle treated me like a porcelain doll to be placed on a shelf and dusted only when necessary. Thus I did not see Nevarra, the real Nevarra, until much later. By then I realized I knew it not at all.
Your uncle? What about your parents?
They had the misfortune of taking the wrong side in the second attempt to overthrow King Marcus. The king executed them, but spared my brother and I since we were family, and children at the time. Thus we were raised by my uncle, a Mortalitasi who preferred the company of his corpses to the living.
Your uncle was a Mortalitasi?
A death mage. He still is. My countrymen do not burn the dead. They bury them in special crypts. The Mortalitasi supervise the crypts, like priests. Uncle Vestalis oversees the grand necropolis. Nevarans spend more time honoring dead relatives than they do with living ones. It is odd to be so fascinated with death and its trappings. I will never understand it.
Tell me about your brother.
I'd rather not.
I'll let you get back to work.
Okay, she didn't seem too friendly.
Blessings upon us all.
Obviously, I'm going to put the Kirkwall flag.
What's the chance say about this? I never paid attention. I saw it's kicked in the last door.
I'll quickly order some operations, and then I'm going to turn in all of the research items that I have, because I always forget to do that. Well, I don't want to take anything that will make my character too overpowered, so I might as well take the inventory spot.
I have something for you, Commander. The soldiers the Herald rescued from the Falomire arrived an hour ago.
Thank the Maker. We need good news.
Inventory is always good. I don't need resources at the moment.
Inquisitor?
Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Get back here. You are dismissed too soon.
We cannot neglect our soldiers' training.
Can we neglect roads? Our allies cannot take the same route through the mountains we did.
Oh, this was one of the longer missions. I mean the chain quests.
Inquisitor.
Inquisitor. Any news on rifts beyond reach of the Inquisition?
Yes. And it is not good.
So I'm going to go either to the Exalted Plains or the Emerald Graves. I remember one of the two was the easier one, though not which.
And what else did Lady Forsythia say?
That she'd rather drown herself than help the Inquisition.
Anything else?
She said she'd have us flogged alive if we allied with her brother.
That does sound like her.
Cheer up, Josie. We at least have her attention.
You always do find the brighter side of things. We are in the midst of cementing an alliance with Lady Forsythia of Nevada, your worship. It's become a somewhat delicate task.
Can I do anything to help negotiations?
Thank you, but I believe I have matters in hand. I dissuaded her from sending soldiers when she learned we'd struck an accord with a brother she's feuding with. Lady Forsythia simply employs a colorful manner of speech.
You're rather good-natured about threats of death and dismemberment.
They are chiefly bluster, Inquisitor. Most of them. But I confess I do miss my staff from the embassy in Antiva. It was always useful to discuss the day's visitors with them.
I have time if you'd like to review things with me.
I wouldn't wish to impose.
If it were imposing, I wouldn't have offered.
Well, I admit there are a few potential alliances it would be good to discuss. Right on the parlor floor, in front of everyone at the soiree. Who does such a thing in front of their guests?
The Duke of Kellington, apparently.
And then there's Cole's lurking. It frightens our guests half to death. Lord Gennard still won't respond to our letters. And Sarah, can she not find a single overshirt with that mustard taint on it? Then there's Dorian. The man refuses to take anything seriously unless it suits its whim. Not to mention... Oh goodness. Have we been here an hour already?
Two 2.5 hours, I think. But no one's counting.
Oh, dear. I didn't intend to go on for so long. You must think me quite the gossip.
You've been working continually since I met you, Josephine.
And that can't stop. I must be going. But I leave feeling less troubled than I have in weeks.
Done in the research. I almost jumped right into the forge. It is kind of slow on showing you what you've actually turned in.
It seems Blackwell knows nothing about the disappearance of the Grey Wardens. It's a disappointment. I am, however, glad that he is with us, even if he was not what I expected. He seems to be a good man, and his experience will be an asset to the Inquisition. As for the other Wardens, I suppose we will have to keep looking.
Anything I should know?
I've agents stationed by the ruins of Haven should Corypheus or his lackeys return. So far nothing, and the breach has been quiet for some time. There is something at least.
I'll leave you to your work.
It occurs to me that you're a mage.
That just occurred to you.
I meant, you must have been part of the Circle of Magi in the south. Meaning, you were locked away like a criminal, at least until you rebelled. It's such a bizarre notion to me.
Why do you think we rebelled?
A lack of civilized entertainment, clearly. I've been to your southern taverns. It's more surprising that everyone would take the idea of a mage inquisitor so calmly. Maybe it's not calm. Maybe the Antivan crows are swimming in gold from all the contracts on your life. Good luck with that, by the way. Grand fun being the one in charge.
I'd like to ask you about Tevinter.
Ah, yes. Everyone outside the Imperium always seems quite fascinated by it. Probably why they come up with so many ridiculous tales. Flying cows over Minrathous. That's madness. All right, that one's actually true, but the cows didn't have wings. I digress. Anything in particular you wanted to know?
It seems strange that an entire empire would be ruled by mages.
Strange? Why are you less qualified to rule than some tart with a fancy crown? Actually, the fiction in the Imperium is that mages don't rule. The Magisterium rules. That magisters are all mages is considered a convenient technicality.
I thought the Archon ruled over the Imperium.
Well, yes. Technically, he can overrule laws passed by the Magisterium, but that never happens. Even so, he gets to appoint new magisters, which means all the families vie madly for his favor. Thus, the Archon gets invited to all the parties. The truest path to Tevinter influence, let me tell you.
If it's a fiction, that means mages do rule then.
Yes and no. Let me put it this way. Mages do rule, but not all mages are equal. If you're not from the right family, chances are you don't rule anything. Maybe you're even a slave. The idea that anyone could be a mage, however, keeps the masses placated.
Can anyone be a mage?
Technically. The potential runs mostly in bloodlines, but it's been known to happen. More importantly, commoners believe it can. Tevinter legend is chock full of mage heroes from humble origins. So they hold out hope. Someday my son or my son's son will be a mage. Someday. Poor sods don't realize that means he'll be a quaestor at the arse end of the 100 Pillars, at best.
Being a quaestor isn't a good thing.
I imagine the average non-mage likes to think so. Counting numbers and shuffling papers all day is better than many occupations after all. If you're a second-class citizen among a pack of piranha, however, your outlook changes.
What is the Magisterium, exactly?
The upper house of the Imperial Senate, and the only part worth having a seat on. Those seats are split among the circles of Magi, the Chantry, and the major families. All mages now. It's odd that outside the Imperium, you use Magister like it applies to every Tevinter mage.
If you're not a Magister, then what are you called? No special title?
I'm an Altus, which is almost as good as a Magister, depending on who you ask.
I've never heard of an Altus.
Upper class. Those families who trace descent from the Dreamers, the first prophets of the old gods. If you're a mage and you're not Altus, then you're later. Lower class. If you're not a mage at all, you're Soterati. That's everyone else. We do love our fancy words.
Let me ask you something else.
Of course.
That's all I wanted to know.
Fair enough.
I should go.
Naturally.
Hello.
What do you know about the Fade?
What would you like to know?
I'd like to know more about the Veil.
Circle mages call it a barrier between this world and the Fade. But according to my studies in ancient elven lore, that is a vast oversimplification. Without it, imagine if spirits entered freely. The Fade was not a place one went, but a state of nature like the wind.
I don't know if I can imagine that.
Try. Imagine if spirits were not a rarity, but a part of our natural world. Like a fast-flowing river. Yes, it can drown careless children, but it can also carry a merchant's goods or grind a miller's flour. That is what the world could be if the Veil were not present. For better or worse.
We'll talk later.
Goodbye.
So mortals try to find the Maker, and that becomes blind. It's just a story. Scare children. Where does it come from? What was the Archdemon? That was real. You were in Denerim. Old gods are demons. Darkspawn are demons. It's all demons. That's a lot of demons.
If it was abandoned when we arrived, who named this place Skyhold?
Solus says it changed hands so many times, the original builders can't be traced.
I read the House of Armitage once built a fortress in the vicinity 5 ages ago, but the records are lost.
Good to see you again, Inquisitor. Hope you've got your comfortable boots on. The scouts have seen a number of Fade rifts all over the forest. We've located this mysterious Fairbanks. He won't share his information with anyone but you. He and his men are camped out at Watcher's Reach, on the path ahead. From what we can tell, they're refugees from the war. Peasants, mostly.
Tell me everything you know about Fairbanks.
We don't know much about him. He appeared after the Civil War started, helping people fleeing from the destruction. Fairbanks is likely not his real name.
Do you know anything else about the region?
They call this place the Emerald Graves. Legend says that a tree grows here for every elven knight of Halam Sharal who perished in its defense. Makes you sad, doesn't it?
Thedas is soaked in blood. If I worried about those who've died in every place I went, I'd be a sobbing mess.
That's one way of thinking about it.
Thank you for the information. I'll head out.
One other thing. A group of deserters from the Imperial armies has established itself here. Freemen of the Dales, they call themselves. They are hostile to the Inquisition, and everyone else. Watch your back, Inquisitor.
And I messed up. The Emerald Graves is actually the higher level area, and the Exalted Plains is the low level one. So I'll just quickly head back to Skyhold and go to the right place.
Inquisitor. Really? You did not notice?
I had no idea Lady Beverly was one of your people. You might have told me before I embarrassed myself.
And that is about all the time there is for this episode. Thank you for watching, and until next time when I visit and level up in the Exalted Plains.